Alright, this question is, have you ever had stank seat and who?
I have, but I ain't saying no names. Cause guess what? I still was heated.
Was it under the cover or without a cover?
Man, if you think I'm putting a cover up, dig up.
Oh my God! Wow.
Who gave you the best coochie? Who gave you the best coochie?
She
Okay.
get nasty.
Especially after that drink.
Yep, that's why you get the drink.
This is 20-year-old Sequoia Lamar and 24-year-old Deja Morris from Alabama, a popular couple who were adored by their fans on TikTok and YouTube. Their lives, filled with love, laughter, and adventure, would be senselessly and tragically cut short in a violent confrontation by their own neighbor. But the reason for the attack is one so unimaginable it would defy all your understanding. Sequoia, a gifted dancer and talented hair braider, and her girlfriend Deja were a dynamic pair who shared their love and their lives with an ever-growing audience. But what they didn't know was just doors away, a neighbor was biding their time, plotting their death. On the morning of Tuesday, August 29, 2023, at around 10:40 a.m., the peaceful neighborhood of Bunnell Drive in Huntsville would be rocked by the sound of multiple gunshots. Police were quickly called to the scene, where they discovered a heartbreaking and chilling reality. Sequoia and Deja had been shot over 10 times, each of them left to die in the very place they had once felt safe. As detectives arrived and began piecing together the details of that fateful morning, they would uncover a horrifying truth. Their alleged killer was none other than their 24-year-old neighbor, Tyshawn Stevens. The very person who lived just doors away, who seemed like an ordinary neighbor, had harbored violent intentions that no one could have anticipated. What led Ty to commit such a heinous act against two young women whose only crime was simply living their lives in the light? What happened between Sequoia, Deja, and Ty that would cause him to snap, turning their shared space into a scene of unimaginable violence? To understand how this heartbreaking tragedy happened, we need to go back to the beginning and how it all unfolded.
What's up, y'all? I'm back with another video. Let me just stop. What's up, y'all? I'm back with another. Bro, I'm finna get pissed.
At just 20 years old, Sequoia Monique Lamar had already mastered what most people spend decades trying to figure out: how to be genuinely herself in front of a camera. She carried a natural ease that made her presence magnetic, and her authenticity shone through every frame.
What's up, y'all? Welcome back to my channel. Today is gonna be little snippets of my birthday vlog. So this is me before I get my hair done. It's nappy and everything else, but I'll be back when it's time to get washed and everything.
Sequoia Monique Lamar, born on March 21, 2003, was a vibrant and talented young woman. A native of Huntsville, Alabama, she quickly gained recognition for her exceptional dancing skills and her remarkable ability to braid hair. But Sequoia was not just a social media influencer. She was a young woman full of passion and promise. She loved to showcase her creativity through dance, cooking, and hairstyling, always with a smile on her face. Her life was filled with energy, joy, and an infectious personality that captivated her growing audience on platforms like TikTok and YouTube. But beyond her public persona, Sequoia was also a daughter, a sister, and a girlfriend deeply loved by her family and close friends. However, her online presence was only one part of her story. The other was the warmth she shared in her personal relationships, where she was cherished for her kindness and spirit. Sequoia was in a committed relationship with Deja Morris, a 24-year-old woman known for her strong personality and loving nature. Deja, born on March 20, 1999, also grew up in Huntsville, Alabama. She attended J.O. Johnson High School and worked at Aeropostale, balancing her responsibilities with her vibrant social life. Her brother, Dantes Morris, captured her essence perfectly when he described her as like our Michael Jackson, the star of the family, the star of the Fab Five. This wasn't just sibling pride talking. Deja had that rare quality where she could walk into any room and instantly become the center of attention, not because she demanded it, but because her energy was magnetic. Her family knew her as Mo Deed, a nickname that spoke to the intimate bond she formed with everyone close to her. Just like Sequoia, Deja was fun-loving and full of life. Together, they shared their relationship openly on social media, becoming an inspiration to many.
What's up, y'all? I'm back with another video. And today I'm putting her in the hot seat. Y'all seen her on my channel before, but we never made a video together. So here we go. Introduce yourself.
It's big Mo, not the little. You know what the foot going on.
Okay, so yeah, she going in the hot seat and it's real hot, and if she don't, then she gotta take a shot. So your first question is, where's the craziest place you had sex?
Craziest place? Yeah. I ain't gonna say I've had sex at, crazy place, because I'm big on, letting my girl have her privacy and letting her be comfortable and shit like that. So I'll say probably school. Yeah, I forgot about that shit. But yeah, school.
Okay. Okay. Have somebody ever just turned you off to the point where you're like, ew?
Hell yeah. Every when I was younger, ew. I was just bored.
The pair often documented their everyday adventures, from answering fan questions to offering relationship advice, allowing their followers to feel like they were part of their journey. They created dance challenges that went viral, their natural synchronization and obvious enjoyment making them stand out. Behind-the-scenes vlogs gave fans access to their real daily life, while cooking demonstrations often turned into comedy shows because of their playful banter. What set them apart was their refusal to create a fake version of their relationship for social media. They shared vulnerable moments, embarrassing stories, and real conversations. They knew how to be open and engaging while still maintaining respect for each other's boundaries. Together, Sequoia and Deja represented the beauty of love, adventure, and happiness. Their connection was evident to anyone who watched their videos, where they laughed, danced, and spoke openly about their lives. It was a relationship that embodied joy, resilience, and the strength of two people who stood side by side through everything. Everything was trending upward for them. Their relationship was solid, their content was engaging, and their future looked incredibly bright. But as their follower count grew, so did the attention, not just from fans across the internet, but from someone much closer to home. Someone had been watching their every move from just a few doors away. The 4400 block of Bunnell Drive in Huntsville looked like any other apartment complex in Alabama. Modest buildings, shared parking areas, and neighbors who knew each other's routines. But for Sequoia and Deja, this place represented freedom and independence. They had transformed their shared apartment into more than just a living space. It became their creative headquarters, their safe haven, and the backdrop for content that reached thousands of followers. Deja had originally moved in as Sequoia's roommate, but their relationship had evolved far beyond a simple housing arrangement. The apartment became a symbol of their love and their shared dreams. Yet tragically, this very apartment, the place that had nurtured their creativity and joy, would also become the same place where both of their lives were taken. On Tuesday, August 29, 2023, the love story between Sequoia and Deja took a devastating turn. The crime occurred in their apartment complex on Bunnell Drive in Huntsville, Alabama. What started as a petty disagreement escalated into a fatal confrontation that claimed the lives of both women. Witnesses and investigators later revealed that Sequoia, Deja, and their neighbor, 23-year-old Ty Deshawn Stevens, had been involved in an ongoing dispute. The argument, which began over something as trivial as car tires, soon turned deadly. While others in the building knew Sequoia and Deja as the friendly couple who filled their days with online content creation, Ty remained more of a shadow figure. He was not part of the evening parking lot conversations or the casual hallway exchanges that brought neighbors together. Instead, he seemed to prefer watching from a distance, keeping himself apart from the community around him. What made Stevens capable of the violence that would eventually erupt remained a mystery even to those who lived closest to him. Unlike the young couple whose lives were increasingly public through their videos and social media presence, Stevens kept his thoughts and feelings hidden. There were no obvious warning signs that neighbors could later point to, no prior incidents of aggression, no heated arguments, no troubling behavior that might have raised concern. Yet something about Sequoia and Deja's success appeared to capture his attention in ways that went beyond casual neighborly interest. Their growing popularity, their visible happiness, and their rising influence were all unfolding in plain sight of someone who may have been quietly developing resentment. Whether Stevens followed their social media accounts remains uncertain, but living just doors away meant he didn't need to scroll through their feeds to know about their achievements. But he could see it firsthand. He could see their celebrations, their brand deliveries, their visitors arriving to collaborate. The shift from passive observation to active hostility did not happen overnight. Stevens had months to watch their routines, to witness their success growing, and to construct whatever internal narrative he believed justified his eventual actions. Did he resent their happiness? Did their financial success or popularity fuel something darker within him? These unanswered questions would later become central to understanding the tragedy that unfolded. At approximately 10:40 a.m. that day, police received reports of multiple gunshots echoing through the neighborhood. When officers from the Huntsville Police Department arrived, they discovered Sequoia and Deja lying near their apartment, both fatally shot. The victims had been shot multiple times, with a total of 13 gunshots fired between them. Investigators quickly identified Ty, the couple's neighbor, as the prime suspect. They believed that the dispute had escalated to a point where Ty allegedly pulled out a gun and opened fire, killing both women in cold blood. The tragedy unfolded in broad daylight, leaving the entire community shaken. Law enforcement immediately began a search for Ty Stevens, issuing a "be on the lookout" alert for him. SWAT teams and officers swarmed the area, believing that Ty Stevens might still be in the vicinity. However, Ty had already fled the scene by the time authorities arrived. Within hours of the shooting, the Huntsville Police Department had launched a manhunt for Ty Stevens. The suspect was described as armed and dangerous, and authorities believed he had fled the area, possibly headed to Anniston, Alabama, or even out of state to Columbia, South Carolina. The U.S. Marshals Gulf Coast Regional Fugitive Task Force took over the search, using every tool at their disposal to track Stevens down. The authorities tracked his vehicle, a silver car, but Stevens remained elusive.
Police are asking the public's help locating a man wanted for connected to last week on Bonnell Drive.
2 women as a result of that. And News 19's Carmen Fuentes is joining us now with what we know this morning. Carmen.
Yeah, Kelly, Steve, Huntsville police releasing this photo of Ty Stevens yesterday. The department saying they have 2 capital warrants for Stevens related to this deadly shooting on Bonnell Drive. Back on August 28th, both Deja Morris and Sequoia Lamar were in that. And Major Crimes Unit investigators believe Stevens may be in the Anniston, Alabama or Columbia, South Carolina areas. Now, investigators believe he could be driving a silver vehicle with an unknown license plate at this time. HPD is giving everyone the warning, saying anyone who sees Stevens should not attempt to make contact with him, but instead anyone with information on his whereabouts should call HPD Major Crimes at 256-924-1778.
That was until authorities caught a break. On Wednesday, September 6th, 2023, exactly a week after the murders, that U.S. Marshals located Stevens in Anniston, Alabama. He was arrested without incident and swiftly transported back to Madison County, where he was booked into the Madison County Jail on 2 capital murder charges. The arrest marked a turning point in the case, as it confirmed that Stevens, the suspect in the killings, was finally in custody. He was held without bond as the investigation continued to gather evidence, and his legal team prepared for his court proceedings. As the case progressed, the families of Sequoia Lamar and Deja Morris continued to grapple with the immense grief of losing their loved ones in such a senseless manner. While the arrest of Ty Stevens brought some relief, there was still a long road ahead as they fought not only for justice, but also for answers to the many questions surrounding the tragedy. The Madison County Jail became the place where Stevens awaited his trial, and his legal proceedings started to unfold. Ty Stevens' first court appearance was scheduled for September 20th, 2023, where a judge would determine whether there was enough evidence to send the case to a grand jury. This hearing was crucial as it would decide whether Stevens would face trial for the brutal killings of Sequoia and Deja.
The men accused of two women in Huntsville will now face a grand jury. Ty Stevens accused of the two women on Bunnell Drive in August. Today, new details came out about that. Stevens allegedly shot the victims 13 times between the two. Stevens and the victims were also neighbors. The three were allegedly in an argument about tires leading up to that. The judge did not make a ruling on if Stevens will get bond.
Given the overwhelming evidence, including eyewitness accounts, forensic analysis, and the fact that Stevens had fled the scene immediately after the murders, it was widely believed that the case would go to trial. On November 1st, 2023, the case was formally presented to the grand jury, a critical stage in the legal process. The grand jury's task was to decide whether the evidence presented by the prosecution was strong enough to charge Ty with capital murder.
Nikki, a Huntsville man charged with capital murder of two women in August of 2023 appeared in court this afternoon.
And Ty Deshaun Stevens arrested in September of 2023 in Anniston. He's being held at the Madison County Jail. He's been there ever since. News 19's Josiah Elmore attended that hearing. So Josiah, what was it about?
Greg, this hearing was all about checking in on where the case stands, making sure that neither side needs anything from Judge Comer. Ty Deshaun Stevens appeared in court with his attorneys Chad Morgan and Larry Marsili Friday afternoon. Madison County Circuit Judge Chris Comer says he wanted to hold the status hearing to make sure the case is flowing as it should. Neither the defense nor the prosecution had pending motions for Comer to rule on. Despite multiple attempts for a bond to be set for Stevens, the issue did not come up in Friday's hearing. The state says it has shared all the discovery with the defense that it has. It doesn't anticipate that a plea deal will be offered in this case to Stevens. Now, Stevens is charged with the murder of Deja Morris and Sequoia Lamar in August of 2023 on Bunnell Drive. Madison County District Attorney's Office confirmed to me after the hearing that it will seek the death penalty against Stevens. Again, Stevens is currently scheduled to go on trial in August of 2026. We'll continue to follow this case and bring you updates on air and on WHNT.com.
The emotional toll on the families continued to mount. Shamika Lamar, Sequoia's mother, described her daughter as a loving, talented woman full of promise, whose life had been stolen far too soon. She pressed for justice, urging the community to support their quest for accountability in the wake of this tragedy. As for Deja's family, the pain of her passing was equally devastating. Deja's brother, Dantes, also shared his heartbreak with the world. In an emotional interview, he recounted the shock of receiving the call about his sister's death. He revealed that he had learned of the tragedy through a Facebook Live video where he had seen the horrifying images of Deja and Sequoia's bodies lying on the floor. This method of discovering the death of a loved one was understandably traumatic for him, and his pain was palpable as he spoke about the devastation his family had been forced to endure. For the Morris family, this tragedy was a wound too deep to heal, one that would forever leave a hole in their hearts. For both families, the loss felt particularly painful because Sequoia and Deja had been so full of life. They were vibrant young women who shared love, laughter, and hope for the future. To have their lives violently taken in such a way was incomprehensible to those who knew and loved them.
It's been 1 month since two women were shot and killed on Bunnell Drive in North Huntsville. 24-year-old Deja Morris and 20-year-old Sequoia Lamar. Police arrested the suspect in their murder, Ty Deshaun Stevens in Anniston the following week.
Wait, 31's Maddie McCaffrey joins us live now after speaking exclusively with the victims' families today.
Yeah, Dan, Nicole, it's been a devastating time for these families, and it was tragic when they got the news that Deja Morris and Sequoia Lamar were shot and killed. It happened Tuesday, August 29th, just after 10 a.m. Deja Morris's brother answered a devastating call that no one should have to receive.
Nobody believed it. Like, when she called me and she told me that they found Dee passed away and Sequoia passed away, it didn't register in my head up until we saw Facebook and there was a live on Facebook of their bodies on the floor. Yeah, so it was kind of hard to find out that way.
It's been a painful month for the Morris family as they deal with the painful reality of never seeing their loved one again.
She was like our Michael Jackson, you know? She was the star of the family. She was the star of the Fab Five, you know? She's a family-oriented person. So is Sequoia as well. They were both bubbly, goofy, funny little girls, you know?
Sequoia Lamar's mother says it's been an incredibly difficult time for their family.
Me and my family, my boys, mother, dad, husband, everybody, we suffered a great loss. We really just trying to pick up the pieces since the funeral and everything. It's been really hard and a tough struggle dealing with this.
King says her and her daughter were very close.
Very talented. She was very sweet, and her and her friend Deja did not deserve this. And I just ask for you guys to keep us in prayer, and I just want justice for my daughter and Deja as well.
It's been a tough past month for both victims' families as they mourn their losses and figure out their new normal. As for suspect Ty Deshaun Stevens, he remains in the Madison County Jail without bond, and his court date is set for November 1st. Reporting live in Huntsville, Maddie McCaffrey, Wait 31 News.
The courtroom drama continued, and Ty Stevens' legal team began fighting for his release on bond. However, on November 8, 2023, Stevens was again denied bond. The prosecution emphasized the severity of the charges, 2 capital murders, and the fact that Ty had not only shot both victims multiple times, but had fled the scene immediately after the killings. Given the overwhelming evidence, including eyewitness testimony and forensic analysis, the judge upheld the decision to deny bond, citing the dangerous nature of Ty and the strong case against him. Ty's defense attorney attempted to argue for a lower bond, but this plea was swiftly rejected by the judge. With his trial looming in the distance, Ty remained behind bars without bond, awaiting the legal proceedings that would ultimately determine his fate.
A man accused in a double murder in 2023 was denied a second requested bond this afternoon. Ty Stevens faces 2 capital charges for killing 2 of his neighbors. WAFO 48's Noah Cow was in court today and has the latest.
Ty Stevens was back in court today with his attorneys looking for the judge to grant him bond this time around. Stevens was initially denied bond a year and a half ago, and as his family watched today, the judge came to the same decision. Stevens was indicted on 2 capital charges last October after being accused of 24-year-old Deja Morris and 20-year-old Sequoia Lamar, both of whom were his neighbors. Investigators believe the 3 were in an argument about tires, which led up to the Evidence shows Stevens allegedly shot the victims 13 times combined. Stevens will stay in jail without bond until his trial, which is scheduled for August of next year. Reporting in Huntsville, Noah Cowell, 48 News, on your side.
The Madison County District Attorney's Office confirmed they will pursue the death penalty, citing the brutality of the double homicide. The trial date has been scheduled for August 17, 2026. The impact of Sequoia and Deja's deaths continued to ripple throughout the Huntsville community, affecting not just their families, but everyone who had known and loved them. A GoFundMe campaign was launched to help cover Sequoia's funeral costs, raising nearly $4,000 by the time of reporting, but still falling short of the $8,000 goal. Both families faced the heavy burden of paying for funeral expenses while simultaneously grieving the loss of 2 young lives taken far too soon. While these families struggled to cope with the loss of their loved ones, the community rallied around them, offering support and attending vigil and memorial services. The mayor of Huntsville organized a candlelight vigil at Carver Park to honor the lives of Sequoia and Deja. This vigil was a touching reminder of the profound impact these 2 women had on their loved ones, their friends, and their community. The tragic events sparked broader conversations about gun violence, domestic disputes, and the accessibility of firearms. The fact that the argument between Stevens, Sequoia, and Deja had escalated into gunfire left many questioning how something as trivial as a disagreement over tires could turn into such a deadly confrontation. Many within the community were left wondering how the issue of domestic disputes, especially those involving weapons, can be addressed more effectively. Local organizations began raising awareness about domestic violence and the importance of addressing underlying issues before they escalate into violence. The case also led to renewed discussions about gun control and how easily people with violent tendencies can gain access to firearms. Lawmakers and advocates alike began calling for stronger gun laws and measures to ensure that firearms do not end up in the hands of those who may use them recklessly. As the legal process continues, Sequoia and Deja's families remain committed to ensuring that Ty Stevens is held accountable for his actions. The tragedy has left an indelible mark on their hearts, but they continue to fight for justice on behalf of their loved ones. The families hope that the court system will bring the justice they desperately need, and that Ty Stevens' trial will shine a light on the dangers of unresolved conflicts and the consequences of allowing a dispute to escalate into violence. The journey for justice is far from over, and the families are bracing themselves for what lies ahead.
Happening now, a Huntsville man could get the penalty for a 2023 double. 23-year-old Ty Stevens is accused of two women at a house off Bunnell Drive. Way 31 reporter Paige Meyer joins us now live from the Madison County Courthouse, where a status conference was held just today as Stevens awaits trial. Good evening, Paige.
Good evening, Seth. Yes, we now know that Stevens' capital trial is set for August 17th of 2026. The state tells me that they will be seeking the death penalty following the 2023. Now, if you recall, we previously reported a Madison County jury indicted Ty Stevens on 2 counts of capital. Police say on Tuesday, August 29th of 2023, he shot and killed 24-year-old Deja Monique Morris and 20-year-old Sequoia Monet Lamar at a house off Bunnell Drive. Now, following today's routine status conference, I spoke to Stevens' legal team, who believes they're on track for next year's trial. They tell me that they now have access to all the evidence that will be used in August 2026.
We always hope for a not guilty, always, but I mean, we're way away from that at this point in time, and there's a lot of work to be done.
Now, I did ask Stevens as he was leaving the courtroom today if he had anything today, and he simply shook his head no. Make sure to stick with Way 31 News on this developing stories. We'll, of course, bring you updates on this trial as we get them both on air and online at waytv.com. Reporting live in Huntsville, Paige Meyer, Way 31 News.
As the investigation unfolded, both families began to deal with the logistics of arranging funerals for Sequoia and Deja. The task of saying goodbye to 2 young lives full of potential was nothing short of heartbreaking. Friends and loved ones gathered to mourn the loss of the 2 young women, leaving messages on their tribute walls, expressing grief, love, and disbelief. The community in Huntsville was deeply affected by the tragedy, and it sparked conversations not just about the loss of Sequoia and Deja, but about the culture of violence, domestic disputes, and the easy access to firearms. People were left wondering how an argument over something as small as car tires could escalate to such a violent act, and many questioned how the situation could have been avoided. The aftermath of the crime also prompted a larger conversation about gun violence, domestic disputes, and how minor disagreements can escalate into deadly violence. Many members of the Huntsville community asked how a seemingly small argument could turn into a tragic loss of life. The question also arose, how did Ty Stevens manage to flee the scene so quickly, and how was he able to elude authorities for an entire week? Law enforcement's response to the situation was also a subject of scrutiny. Many people questioned the timing and effectiveness of the manhunt, as Ty Stevens managed to leave the area before police could fully secure the location. The case highlighted the challenges law enforcement faces when dealing with violent crimes in residential areas, especially when the perpetrator is a neighbor with a history of violence or aggression. The families of Sequoia Lamar and Deja Morris continue to fight for justice, hoping that Ty Stevens will be held accountable for his actions. They are determined to make sure that their loved ones' deaths were not in vain and that justice will be served. With a trial looming, the families are hoping that the court system will bring them some semblance of closure, but no amount of justice can ever truly undo the pain they are experiencing. While the legal battle continues, there is still much work to be done on the broader issues of domestic violence and gun violence. If you are inspired by the fight for justice in the case of Sequoia Lamar and Deja Morris, consider supporting local organizations that work to prevent violence and offer support to victims. Share this story, raise awareness, and let us all work together to make sure that no more lives are cut short due to senseless violence. You can also support the families of Sequoia and Deja by donating to their GoFundMe campaigns and offering your condolences and support through social media. What do you think about it? Let us know in the comments below. And if you found this story intriguing, please like, share, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this.